All right, everybody, we are back on the job site that I am sure you remember from DP's channel, where we ripped some rock and installed a little over 7,000 feet of water line. We are now going to dig some test holes with the 120 because this customer wants a pond/lake up there in that hole. Let's get this 120 greased and go dig some test holes. All right, we got the oil checked in Old Faithful, the old 120. Now let's see if this baby will fire up. As always, fires right up. Just a couple of cranks of the motor there and it fires off. Let's get this sucker greased up. Yes, I'm sure everybody's gonna comment, "You're digging test holes with a rock bucket?" Yep, yes I am. Because the only other option we have on the site right now is a smooth face. Darn sure don't want to be digging test holes with a smooth face, so we're gonna use a rock bucket today. Is it the right tool? Nah. Will it work? Absolutely. Let's get this baby greased. Well, we got her greased. Everything's got proper amount of grease in it. We've got a grade rod, we've got our flags, we've got our laser stand, and back there behind me we got the laser. Let's track up here and start laying this sucker out and see what the capabilities are. All right, we got tracked up here with the good old 120, and just going off of my eyeball here, customers wanting this pond/lake in this area here to lay in real nice and tie into that hillside. And as I look down through there, I can definitely see that right in front of that building there, this driveway humps up, falls off, continues to fall off almost to where that patch is right there, and then it starts to climb again. So I'm going to set the laser up somewhere right there off the edge of the driveway and find my lowest point, and then I want to ensure that we have 2 feet of freeboard off the driveway, and then the water will start. And then over in here is where the levee will actually tie in. You can kind of see that this hillside runs down, and then there's a swell on that side and a dip on this side. I drew a swell backwards there. Anyway, a swell on that side, a low spot on this side, and then it kind of has another hump out here in the middle, and it drops off again and picks up on this hillside over here. And this homeowner believes there is potentially another new home going to go right over here on this hillside. So basically what they're creating is lakefront property, if you will, and you can kind of see this natural drainage that comes in here. Yeah, they have a little path that they mow over to the woods. I'm sure they have a tree stand or something over there, but that natural bowl is going to catch all the water coming off of this hillside, coming not much over here, but a little bit off of this side, and then all the water off of that hillside to feed this pond/lake. So I believe we're going to tie into this hillside, run us a levee straight across, kind of parallel with the tree line, give them enough area on the back side and a nice slow slope to where they can maintain it and mow it, and always ensure that they can see if there's ever a suspect problem from crawdads or muskrats, or heck, even beavers. You just never know, because there is a creek right down over the hill there. And just so everyone's aware, the reason we want to definitely dig test holes here is right back there off that back side, sheer drop off of a cliff. Right over there, about another, I don't know, 100 yards maybe, sheer drop off of a cliff. So we know all of this earth is setting on top of rock. So what we're trying to figure out, how shallow is that rock? Can we get enough depth to where we don't have to go all the way to the rock and leave a good clay layer of dirt above that rock, transfer the good dirt for the levee to the bottom of the hill, and still ensure we stay away from rock? Because once we get down to that rock, there's always a chance that it could get under. If we can't get our keyway lower than what the rock is up here, assume we hit it, well then it doesn't have the most treacherous path for what you would want in a keyway. And that keyway is going to tie into that bank and tie into that bank. Somewhere over in there would be my guess. But let's get this laser set up and start taking some dimensions. All right, everybody, so here's what we're running into. This hump over here isn't as tall of a hump as what I thought it was. So if we use 2 foot of freeboard off the driveway, yes, there's 40 feet in there, but that's 2 feet of elevation drop to the triple flag right there. I'll get a little bit closer, make sure you guys can see it. I always put extra flags at my intersection points. So this here is basically starting point of water at its highest elevation, I guess you could say. And this is water line. Again, 2 feet of freeboard from the lowest point in the driveway, because it arcs up there and it raises up there. Bring it 2 feet down in elevation, and here's that starting point. And you guys can see the orange flags dotted out through there. And then at the far end, right over there by that cedar tree, you can see a double flag. So basically that's where the heel starts to fall off on the backside. So our keyway and levee would tie in to that point right there and be 2 feet taller, but that would be water line. So you got to imagine another 2 feet. So that levee is going to wrap uphill even further, all the way probably Little Cedar with the brown bush by the double flag, go to the tree and the cedars, and then there's some greenage right there on the edge. Probably about right in there is where that would tie in, and then a nice slow slope to the water. But when you get all the way over here, you would think that just by eyeballing it, it's pretty close. Well, it's actually, if you get all the way to the peak of it, about right in there somewhere, it is actually 5 feet lower than that point. So what that says is, if we want this entire area, this whole thing to be water, we've got to bring that levee along the tree line parallel to it. Again, 100 or so feet, maybe 200 feet off that tree line, across, turn a 90, and then come all the way up. You can see the orange flags here. This again, this water line matches that water line, which matches all those water lines. I don't know if you can see it, so we'll get a little bit closer over here, but the water line would actually be right up against their building back there if we went with 2 foot of freeboard off the lowest point of the driveway. It's going to be a rather large body of water. I forgot my rangefinder. I have not stepped it off yet. Well, I guess realistically I have stepped it off. I just didn't count while I was stepping it off. But right over there behind their little building, you guys can see that orange flag right there. That would actually be water line, which means we got to get it 2 foot taller than that, which puts us, basically our dirt would have to be the height of their building. And when I say the height of their building, their floor in their building would have to come up roughly 18 inches. I don't think that's going to work, and that's going to be a whole lot of levee to build. It's not, let me back up. It's not that that won't work. It's that that object can't be raised 2 feet. So we'd have to raise it 2 feet all the way around it and put some dirt up in it so that the floor was level with the 2 feet above the water line. Don't know if the customer's going to like that, but I did come in here. All of that is pretty darn close. So it'll be right at the edge, right in this track all the way down through here. And then right here's water line. And then obviously it humps up right here where the track hoe's setting and kind of veers back around. And then it starts to turn again to that point because of some low areas. So what we're going to do now, we know that's basically 5 feet lower than this area here. So we're going to raise our receiver 6 feet, and I'm going to walk over there and see where that puts me. And then I'm going to walk down in here and see where that puts me. Because what happens is it starts to move all the water this way and have less water on this side until we basically gouge out that bank and shove all that dirt down to the levee, which starts to steepen up that pitch. And if it gets too steep, then you can't manage it without sliding down into your water hole. So we'd have to draw that all the way up in here to be able to continue that slow slope. And I don't know if this potential customer is wanting that much dirt to be moved. So we're going to lower it down, see what happens. We do have a little bit of a hump over there that will allow us to pull from. I just don't want to get too far up the hill to ensure that that hillside doesn't end up too steep. So let's raise this up another 6 feet and see where that puts us. Well, my original plan of lowering the pond 6 feet would have worked, but I didn't have to go a full 6 feet. So we have reset what is considered our lowest point, which is way over there, right there. And now the track hoe, it's just all kinds of in the way. So we're gonna back this thing up all the way to this building. Yep, that's more walking for us, but it's out of the way. We can get these flags put out and get this thing laid out. So let's get this sucker moved. Hopefully you guys can see that flag right there. We're about 50 feet off of that flag and 30 feet off of these flags. So this is kind of where a corner is going to be in the levee, not in the levee, but in the top of same level as levee, waterline being a little bit below that. So we'll probably take some dirt out of here and utilize it to go down to the levee. So I want to see how deep we can get here, and you can see the flags running out through there. We'll then go that way, and we'll dig one probably 100 feet that way, and then another 100 feet to get to that far side. So let's dig them. And as you guys well know, I am no DP, so, and his can holder's in the way. I don't dig as well as DP, but we can get the job done and see what these test holes are going to tell us. It's got some clay content to it. It's also a little sandy, which is to be expected since we're sitting on top of a sandstone cliff. Sandy right there. Still backing in there really nice. You can see when I get back over there where the bucket is dragging on the outside edges, it gets pretty tight whenever you put some pressure against it. bucket here, so it's not going to dig as well as a regular tooth bucket, but we're getting her done. Top layer there's pretty decent stuff. We'll hop out here in a minute. We'll see what that bottom layer does. I'm probably every bit of 5.5, 6 foot deep there. Take another bucket out, give us some steps on the other side. See what we got. A setback here so I can get down in that hole. Make sure it didn't collapse on me. Show you what we got. All right, so this is what the bottom of the hole looked like. Let's see what happens here when I pack it together. And it's pretty wet out here right now. I can make a decent roll out of it, but it still wants, you see how it fractures there. And this is just my hand. Obviously this is not a vibrating roller, but it does have some clay content to it. It doesn't have the best clay content to it, but when you get down here to the top of the hole, now it's got some pretty daggone good clay content to it. And it's not as wet down in there as what I thought it would be, because you can see it's really not sticking to my hands there. But you see where the bucket got into it there. That's some pretty good stuff. And then we come over here to what was where I skimmed off my offset so that I could get down in the hole in a safer manner. That stuff on top is really wet and it packs really nicely. So I don't know what DP is going to say about it, but I'm sure he's going to probably prefer to build this one not when it's popcorn fart dry. As you get a little bit more moisture in it, and I can roll a really nice hot dog out of that, and that'll seal water really well. Now let's go over here and look in the hole. I didn't make the greatest steps, but I do have a step here, and this kind of tells you more of the story. You see I got a nice setback here. That's the topsoil, really nasty wet, and then you get down in here to this better clay base soil. You can see the line right there. So we've only got about 8 inches of topsoil, 10 inches maybe, that we had to strip off, and then we're into good levee building dirt, and that good levee building dirt comes all the way down, and then it starts to fracture right here, which isn't the greatest stuff, but we can separate that out and mix it in, I believe. But you can see the fractures in it there. That's why this setback was really good to have. So that layer there has clay in it, but you can see it just breaks up. Does it smear? Yes. So same thing over here, topsoil down so far, good layer of levee building dirt, and then we kind of get into that same stuff here. But again, if I scrape it off there, I can still ball it up, just not the greatest. Then you get down here a little deeper and you get into that good clay soil again that packs really nicely. And I'm 6 foot, so this is a good 7 foot deep hole. You can see the water coming out of there. So the water definitely stops at a certain point now that I've opened it up. So we've got some decent dirt here in this test hole to build a levee out of. Now we got to find out and make sure that we have the same thing all the way across there. So we're going to pull this dirt back in here and fill this hole up, dig some more. All right guys, so you can see where our other test hole was there. We're still about 50 feet off of that edge here. We kind of have a low spot right here. I don't want to dig right in the low spot because it's a natural drainage and I don't want to create a leak point for later, so I'm going to stay up out of that a little bit. But since this is a low spot, I want to make sure that we're not too close to rock here. I know that we've got plenty of dirt over there. That was some good dirt there. So I'm just going to dig 2 test holes on this top side, and then I'll run to the center, and I'm going to check another spot right out here in the center just to make sure that we've got enough dirt there, because that's our shortest push. So the question at hand is, do we go 7 feet, do we go 6 feet, do we go 5 feet, whatever. And then I'll run across, and then I'll dig 3 more test holes for the actual site where the location that the levee is going to go and where the keyway is going to be at. So test hole number 2, let's get her done. Well, I'm sure you guys can see that same smoke that I'm seeing. This is one of the things that we had a little bit of a concern about with where the potential pond is going to go. But we get down in here, probably 4 feet. 4 feet, and top of it's decent. You get down through here, still pretty decent. And then you get right here and you start hitting sandstone. You can see the rock teeth cut it pretty well. So it's soft rock, but we got to stay away from that. You all can see right here also where the water's starting to come out of the bank. So it doesn't go any further down than that. But with it being that way, we're gonna have to, down there where the keyway is gonna tie in, we're really gonna have to make sure that we can get enough depth down there. And when we get in here and we start scraping this out, we're gonna have to be careful how far we get down in this low point, assuming we have enough depth down at the very bottom. Now, I said I was only going to dig 2 test holes in here, but since I found this, I'm going to go across this low point and I'm going to see how deep we are up there where they're kind of close to where their road is. I'm afraid we're going to find the exact same problem, but let's go find out. Alright guys, so this is test hole number 3. You can see test hole number 2 right there and number 1 way over there. That's where we hit the rock. We jump just a little bit further here. I don't want to mess up their little path that they have going down through there, so we're going to dig a test hole right here. Let's see if we hit rock at 4 feet again. Looks like we made it through the topsoil in about the 8 inches that we've been seeing the other test holes. bit more there, but still has clay content to it. Judging by that, we're probably not far away from the rock. From the rock than what I anticipated. We're 4 foot there. Starting to see some rock fragments. Real solid, or if it stays chunky like that. So if it stays chunky like that and we can get through it and find some good clay below it, we can hog that out on this entire side over here and just use it in the head section. And it's getting pretty hard. Starting to see the old white smoke. There it is. There's hard bottom. Well, I'm not too worried about digging an offset here. Let's go take a look. Well, there you have it. I'm not getting down in this one because I don't have an offset dug, but you guys can see all the water pouring in out of this corner. So there is some good clay. It's just not real thick. Probably 3 foot of good dirt, and then we get down to where it's chunky rock, turn it into solid rock. So if we're gonna take any of this out of here, we're only going to want to go down a couple of feet and probably start being pretty careful. But with seeing this, we do have a little bit more depth than we had right there, and they're about on the same elevation. So I guess that rock kind of runs like this, and then it probably carries out that hillside there down to the bottom. So now what I'm concerned about is from intersection point of levee to intersection point of levee, do we have enough depth to put in a true keyway here? And judging by that test hole right over there, we're probably going to get pretty iffy down in this area. So we're going to hop down. I see that we've got some dirt here. I know it only gets better as we go up this way before it falls off again. So even if we've got to go all the way up there to that hump to steal enough dirt for this levee, we've got plenty of real estate that way. And we had to stay a little bit more shallow here. But now my biggest concern is, do we have enough depth for a keyway down in here? So I'm going to dig one probably right over here, down on that kind of low spot, and then hop over on the other side of that hump, because we've probably got decent dirt in that hump. But on the other side, I'm not for sure. So let's go dig 3 test holes down along the bottom and see what we got. All right, so you can see our 3 flags right there. And then if we spin around 180 degrees, you can see our 3 flags to the right of that house, right at the top of the hill right there. So we're gonna dig a test hole kind of right here behind us. One on the other side of that low spot where we know our test hole number 2 was shallow, which is right there. That'll tell us if we've got enough depth for a keyway in the center at the lowest point, and then we'll go up that hill just a little bit. We're not gonna go real far up the hill because there's no reason to dig at the top. We know it's plenty deep. We had 7 foot of dirt over there at test hole number 1. So let's dig test hole number 4. So here we are again, guys. 6 foot deep, good clay up on top, decent on the bottom down here. I can roll it up pretty good, and then we hit some pretty nasty stuff. It's solid until I break it up, but not 100% sure on what DP is gonna think on this one. But again, we can stay above the rock because we have good clay right above it, but we're gonna have to be, I think we're gonna have to be careful not to get down to this layer, because it just turns into sandstone that just breaks apart, and sandstone doesn't do a very good job sealing out water. So you can see on the bank over here, there's a good amount of clay, real good clay actually. That's some good stuff. So we're gonna hop back out of here on our offset. Oh. You can see that clay seam. There's less topsoil here, and there's every bit of 4 foot of clay that we can mess with there, and we just pick up in elevation. So that rock layer is not as shallow up in there. So if we're 6 foot here, we can get 10 or 12 foot up there. So we got a whole lot of dirt on this rim right here that we can utilize for this levee. And this, obviously, I'll show you guys again, there's the 3 flags right there. And then if you look across, there's the 3 flags way over there. So this is right where that core is gonna go. So I think we're good on this side. We're pretty close, probably 100 feet off of that corner. I think we're good on this side. We're gonna go check this low point. Test hole number 5, let's get her done. All right, guys, so that was the last test hole we dug. We're still on that front third of the keyway, where the keyway needs to go in the levee. We are sitting right below that shallow hole. And then right over here is where the levee's gonna connect. So hopefully right here in this spot, we don't hit rock really shallow. Kind of be optimistic here, but I don't know how well this one's gonna go, but let's get her done. Well, guys, we hit rock, but it's significantly deeper than up there. And now what I've seen down here with how that chunks up, I'm beginning to wonder if we even really have to get down to it, because again, we've got about 8 inches of topsoil and about 6 foot of dirt, and then we start to hit that rock. So realistically, I guess this is going to come down to DP's call, but I'm not going to make the call. But you can see it there. There's about 6 foot of dirt, and then we start hitting that chunky stuff. And realistically, I think if we get down to that stuff and we dig all the way across it and get some of that real good clay dirt down in there and vibratory roller it in all the way up, that'll create a very tortuous path for the water to get in and back out of. So there's that layer right there. That broke up just fine and dug right out of there. We won't want to use that in the core, but we can peel that out and mix it up with some other stuff and use it out in the middle of the pond. So we're going to go over here just to confirm our deep side, deep hole up there. doesn't end up shallow down here. And then that'll be a wrap on the test holes. So let's dig the last one. All right, guys, so this test hole here is test hole number 6. It is a precautionary measure test hole to make sure that we don't lose any depth on this far side. I believe we're going to be fine. The last hole was 7 feet to the rock, as you saw there. Now we're just going to confirm that we have good depth again. Topsoil's about 10 inches deep here again, so that's pretty consistent throughout the entire test hole digging. Got some good clay right there. That's some good core dirt. Sticking in the bucket even. And this side over here is a little bit wetter than the other side. Uh-oh. That didn't feel good. We might have that same chunky layer that we have behind us here, about 50 feet, maybe 100 feet, that we got to get through before we get back into some good clay. Off to the side over here so we can make sure the other dirt's got good clay content. We're already about 4 foot deep, and as long as that rock layer comes out, get back down to some clay, won't feel too bad about it. Yeah, it looks like it's that same chunky layer that we hit on that last hole, but a little bit shallower. Well, I know you guys didn't get to see much of that test hole digging because my battery went dead, but looks like we got about 3 feet, maybe 4 if we're lucky, before we get down to this layer here that got a lot of clay content in it. The pack's pretty good, but right below it, get into this crap. It's solid rock. I shouldn't say solid, it's sandstone. So this is going to be another one of those, what's DP think about it? As you can see, the water still stays above it, so this has got some good clay content to it. Add a little bit more, it'd be a little bit better, but see, it balls up pretty good. So we'll show this to DP and see what he thinks. You kind of see on this side over here, it's not the greatest, and it's got some rocks just kind of up in there. But we do know for a fact that we have really good dirt right there, which should carry out that hillside, so we should just get better. So these bottom 2 holes here, that one was 6 feet, this one is 4 feet, and that one over there on the other side was 6 feet. So we're kind of right there at that fine line of sealability and no sealability, but we'll let DP make that call. We're gonna fill this hole in. That concludes the test hole digging. I will give you guys a recap via hashtag shorts or something in regards to what DP thinks about this, and if it's a project that he believes we can handle and can make hold water. So as always, like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you guys on the next one.